Good day, and welcome to Hiroshima University's English Podcast.
Hi everyone, I'm Kay.
And I'm Joe. We're very happy to welcome you back to part 2 of our drama series called
Aesop's Fables.
In part 1, we learned a little bit about how Aesop's Fables has affected Western culture in drama, sculpture, song, and paintings.
Can you give a couple of examples, Joe?
Sure. A very famous example is Walt Disney's 1935 movie of The Tortoise and the Hare. You can see it on YouTube.
Oh, the cartoon movie of The Tortoise and the Hare is on YouTube.
Yes. And if you want to see some artworks about Aesop's Fables, in London, the National Art Gallery, which is part of the Victoria and Albert Museum, has some famous Aesop's Fables pictures.
Oh, an art museum with some Aesop's Fables pictures in London.
And Greece, where Aesop lived, is especially proud of him. For example, at the Museum of Hellenic Culture in Greece, they have some very old Aesop's Fables books.
Oh, I want to go to Greece.
Yes, that would be fun.
How about Japan, Joe? How has Aesop's Fables affected Japan?
It's interesting, Kay. The first Aesop's Fables books were brought into Japan by the Portuguese in the late 1500s.
Wow, that's the time of Toyotomi Hideyoshi?
Yes. The book was written in Romaji and was called Aesop no Fabulas.
Oh, Romaji. I guess nobody could read it.
I guess that's right. Not many people. So, a few years after that, they made a longer 3-volume version with kanji called Aesop Monogatari.
So more people could read that, right?
Right. In the beginning of the Meiji period, people especially began to hear about Aesop's Fables. For example, Kawanabe Kyosai made some popular woodblock editions of Aesop's Fables.
川辺暁斎さんは幕末から明治にかけて活躍した浮世絵の絵師さんで、イソップ物語の世界を描いたイソホ物語のうちという浮世絵作品を残してます。
Right. And also, Aesop's Fables had an influence on some of the first Japanese manga.
Oh, some of the first Japanese manga.
Right. In 1925, almost 100 years ago, Takeo Takei published a popular Aesop's Fables book with funny pictures of animals wearing clothes.
武井武雄さんは版画家あるいは童話を作る作家さんで、イソップ物語の挿絵を描いてます。で、この本はなんと Amazon で買えます。
Right. Takeo Takei lived until the 1980s, relatively recently. And today, there's a museum about his children's artworks in Nagano Prefecture.
Sounds good. So Joe, let's get to our podcast's third Aesop's Fable. And it is...
The North Wind and the Sun.
北風と太陽.
Yes, this is also really, really famous.
What's the moral of the story? 話の教訓は何ですか?
The moral of the story is that persuasion works better than force.
温和な手段は強硬手段に勝る.
Everyone, can you say that in English? Persuasion works better than force.
Oh, I like that moral.
The story begins with the North Wind and the Sun having a quarrel about which of them was the stronger.
A quarrel, of course, is a fight with words, 口喧嘩, an argument.
And they were disputing with a lot of heat and bluster.
Disputing is also like arguing, and heat and bluster is with passion emotionally. 怒鳴りつけるということです。 They were disputing with a lot of heat and bluster.
Just then, a traveler passed along the road wrapped in a cloak.
A traveler came nearby, and he was wearing a cloak.
A cloak is a kind of coat, the old style that you wrap over your shoulders.
In Japanese, it's like マント、袖なしの街灯ってことです。A cloak with a K, it sounds similar to a coat.
Then they agreed to have a contest. He is the stronger that can strip the traveler of his cloak.
That means, whichever one of them can get the cloak off of the traveler, 服を脱ぐ、strip him, of the cloak, will be the stronger individual.
To this idea, the north wind growled. Very well.
That means he said okay, うなりながら. He growled.
First, the north wind sent a cold, howling blast against the traveler.
A howling blast in Japanese is like 強い嵐を吹きつけた.
The north wind sent a cold, howling blast against the traveler, trying to get the cloak off of him. So, with the first gusts of the wind,
突風
with the first gusts of the wind, the ends of the cloak whipped about the traveler.
The bottom and the edges of the cloak 鞭打つように whipped around the traveler.
So the traveler wrapped the cloak closer and tighter.
He was cold.
So the north wind blew harder, trying to get the cloak off of him. The wind tore angrily at the cloak.
To tear, むしる、ちぎる。過去形は tore です。
The north wind tore angrily at the cloak.
The north wind really wanted to strip the traveler of the cloak.
But all the north wind's efforts were in vain.
虚しく。
Then the sun began to shine. At first, his beams were gentle,
太陽の光 were very gentle.
and in the pleasant warmth after the bitter cold of the north wind, the traveler unfastened his cloak
Untied it.
and let it hang loose from his shoulders.
ゆったりとまとわれていたんですね。
The traveler let the cloak hang loose from his shoulders. Then the sun's rays grew warmer and warmer, so the man took off his cap and mopped his brow.
額の汗を拭った。
He mopped his brow and finally pulled off his cloak to escape the blazing sunshine.
燃える太陽 the blazing sunshine.
And the traveler threw himself down in the welcome shade of a tree.
He fell into the 影
And the moral of the story is,
That gentleness and kind persuasion win, where force and bluster fail.
The North Wind and the Sun. The North Wind and the Sun had a quarrel about which of them was the stronger. While they were disputing with much heat and bluster, a traveler passed along the road wrapped in a cloak. Let us agree, said the Sun, that he is the stronger who can strip that traveler of his cloak. Very well, growled the North Wind, and at once sent a cold, howling blast against the traveler. With the first gust of wind, the ends of the cloak whipped about the traveler's body, but he immediately wrapped it closely around him. And the harder the wind blew, the tighter he held it to him. The north wind tore angrily at the cloak, but all his efforts were in vain. Then the sun began to shine. At first, his beams were gentle, and in the pleasant warmth, after the bitter cold of the north wind, the traveler unfastened his cloak and let it hang loosely from his shoulders. the sun's rays grew warmer and warmer. The man took off his cap and mopped his brow. At last, he became so heated that he pulled off his cloak, and to escape the blazing sunshine, he threw himself down in the welcome shade of a tree by the roadside. Gentleness and kind persuasion win where force and bluster fail.
Wow, everyone, that's an important lesson.
Yes, we hope that not only politicians around the world, but also family members learn that gentleness and kind persuasion win where force and bluster fail.
And what's our fourth and final Aesop's fable, Joe?
It's called The Fox and the Crow.
カラスとキツネ. And what's the moral of the story?
Yes, we tell the most important part right in the beginning. The moral of the story is that it's sometimes bad to listen to flattery.
おべっかやお世辞、おだてに乗るのはダメです。It's bad to listen to flattery.
One bright morning, a fox was following his sharp nose through the wood in search of a bite to eat.
Yes, foxes are good at smelling. He was following his sharp nose through the forest, looking for a little bit of food. He was hungry.
Then he saw a crow on the limb of a tree overhead.
木の枝 on the limb of a tree overhead.
And the lucky crow had a bit of cheese in her beak.
くちばし There was a bit of cheese in the crow's beak.
No need to search farther, thought sly Master Fox.
Foxes, of course, are ずるい sly, smart and good at tricking others.
Yes, the fox decided that the dainty bite would be his breakfast.
Dainty is like 風味良い、つまりは美味しそうってことです。It looked delicious.
The fox decided the dainty bite, the cheese, would be his breakfast. So he trotted to the foot of the tree.
早足 to trot like a horse. Kind of slow, not too fast.
The fox trotted to the foot of the tree and looked up admiringly.
簡単して admiringly.
Good morning, beautiful creature, said the fox. The crow had its head cocked on one side.
ふんぞり返りました。頭を斜めにしました。The crow was surprised to be called beautiful. So she cocked her head, questioning or doubting what she was hearing.
The fox said that the crow was charming.
素敵な、とても感じのいい charming.
And that her feathers and wings were splendid.
Splendid, very good, beautiful.
And the fox said that the crow had a lovely voice. And he asked her to sing a song so that he could hail her Queen of Birds.
So that he could call her, hail her, the Queen of the Birds.
Of course, the crow liked hearing these flattering words, so she forgot her suspicion.
警戒心を解いた。
She opened her beak to utter a happy caw.
カーカー言う鳴き声。To utter, to say a happy call.
And the cheese fell down straight into the fox's open mouth. As the fox walked away, he thanked her and said she had a voice, but it was cracked.
声が潰れていた。
So she had a voice, but no wits.
頭が悪い。She had no wits. And so the moral of the story is?
The flatterer lives at the expense of those who will listen to him.
The Fox and the Crow. One bright morning, as the fox was following his sharp nose through the wood in search of a bite to eat, he saw a crow on the limb of a tree overhead. This was by no means the first crow the fox had ever seen. What caught his attention this time and made him stop for a second look was that the lucky crow held a bit of cheese in her beak. No need to search any farther, thought sly Master Fox. Here's a dainty bite for my breakfast. Up he trotted to the foot of the tree in which the crow was sitting, and looking up admiringly, he cried, "Good morning, beautiful creature!" The crow, her head cocked on one side, watched the fox suspiciously, but she kept her beak tightly closed on the cheese and did not return his greeting. "What a charming creature she is," said the fox. "How her feathers shine! What a beautiful form and what splendid wings! Such a wonderful bird should have a very lovely voice, since everything else about her is so perfect. Could she sing just one song, I know I should hail her Queen of Birds." Listening to these flattering words, the crow forgot all her suspicion and also her breakfast. She wanted very much to be called Queen of Birds. So she opened her beak wide to utter her loudest caw, and down fell the cheese straight into the fox's open mouth. "Thank you," said Master Fox sweetly, as he walked off. "Though it is cracked, you have a voice sure enough. But where are your wits?" The flatterer lives at the expense of those who will listen to him.
ははは。おだってたって何も出ないぞ。
That's a funny, useful line. In English, it is
Flattery will get you nowhere.
Everyone, can you say that in a loud voice?
Flattery will get you nowhere.
Everyone, do you remember the 4 morals to the stories? Try to repeat after Joe says them. In The Hare and the Tortoise, it was...
The race is not always to the swift.
In The Shepherd Boy and the Sheep, the moral was...
Liars are not believed even when they speak the truth.
In The North Wind and the Sun, the moral was...
Gentleness and kind persuasion win where force and bluster fail.
And in The Fox and the Crow, the moral was...
The flatterer lives at the expense of those who will listen to him.
Everyone, if you listen to this podcast again and again, your English will really become great.
And also, you will learn these morals really well. So, you will become like angels.
天使のように道徳的な人たちになれます。
Yes, we will have the best listeners in the world.
Everyone, take care, and we will see you next time at Hiroshima University's English podcast.
Bye.
Bye.